This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You know that you get free shipping, but there's a whole lot more with your subscription. You get free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to our favorite features, these and others, plus a 30-day free trial and the ability to give Prime as a gift, all in one place by going to f5live.tv/prime. All right, so there was a possibility of us talking about a competitor to Prime tonight because Walmart Plus is teaming up with Paramount Plus. Too many pluses. I'm tired of it. I talked about it on GNC Week in Review. If you want to hear more about that, you can go over there. But we're going to talk about another topic that Avram and I have discussed at different levels over the last year or so, and that is the current state of the movie theater business. In particular, Cinemark, which was, if you were watching live, was the word I had misspelled. If you're in the U.S., you may not recognize that brand name because in the U.S., they operate under the name Regal Cinemas. But in other parts of the world, the Cinemark or Cineworld brands are used. And then there's Israel, where they're called like Yes Go or something like that, which Yes Planet. Okay, whatevs. But they operate under a variety of names. Picture House. But they are likely to file bankruptcy in the next couple of weeks. Sales have not recovered the way they had hoped. And there's a couple of reasons for this in our analysis of what has happened over the last year or so, as we've discussed on the show previously. One is that people have just gotten comfortable seeing new movies at home. During lockdown, a lot of the stuff that was slated for theaters didn't come to theaters. You know, Black Widow famously was destined for theaters and ended up on Disney Plus, which ended in a lawsuit between some of the actors and Disney. But lots of stuff moved over to streaming because the theaters weren't allowed to be open. As they have reopened, people have said, for some of the content, the difference in the experience isn't enough to spend the time. We have talked about that a number of times, right, Avram?
Yep.
That the amount of money it costs to go to the theater for maybe a smaller project, or some things are meant for a big screen. And the first time you see them, they are intended to be on that screen. But there's a lot of stuff that's fine at home, especially if you've got a surround sound system and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, a good friend of mine, I'm looking chunky even though I'm really not downloading anything. Anyway, a good friend of mine has a incredible home theater setup in his house that he bought last year. He has set up. We were visiting him last week.
Nice.
He has set up a movie theater room in his house.
Okay.
And he went through the trouble of like doing everything to get this movie theater room right. So it's got like multiple levels, right, where he's got like different seats on different levels. And the seats are like better than most movie theaters have. Although modern movie theaters, you get pretty nice seats now, but like, these have like USB charging in them and all kinds of adjustment.
Nice.
He's got a projector, and he's got like a screen that comes like that is motorized and comes down.
Sure.
And it's like huge, not as big as the movie theater, but you're sitting pretty close, so you get a pretty good vantage point
scale
on his 4K projector, right?
Yeah.
He also has his projector supports 3D, so with active shutter, So he has like bought like 5 or 6 pairs of active shutter glasses, so you can like some of his Blu-rays are actually 3D, and you can watch 3D movies on them.
Sure.
And then he also went to the effort
Famous,
of having like,
famously Avatar.
who wants to watch Avatar when you could watch Treasure of the Four Crowns? The the we were there the other day when we were watching Treasure of the Four Crowns, which if you don't remember it, you're not alone. But there were two movies that came out uh, in the early '80s. There was Coming at Ya and Treasure of the Four Crowns, which were like some of the best 3D movies ever made because they were made to be 3D, like to really stick it to you. So like, there's all these scenes in the movie where people are just like poking at the screen or whatever, and like it just like the something about the way they filmed it, it really looks like you're being poked in the face,
Okay.
like constantly. Uh, like I wouldn't say that the like the quality of the plot is very good or anything, but wow, you're getting your 3D out of it like nothing else.
Sure.
Anyway, so um, anyway, people can create scenarios like that. I mean, granted, he probably had to spend a lot of money on this. Like, he got the walls painted a particular color so they look like a Art Deco movie theater like
Okay.
color, and he's got like a carpet in there that looks like an old movie theater, and he's got sconces on the wall that are like these Art Deco lights or whatever. Like
Oh,
and he's got an old
this
fashioned popcorn machine. So like he
nice.
really tried. He really, really, really tried, but you could still have a pretty good experience without
Yeah.
trying that hard.
Right.
Um, so, um, you know, yeah, I mean, the other thing that is kind of killing it for the theater is the release window, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I was feeling a little bad because my family and I did not get to go see. We really wanted to go see the new Thor, the latest. I shouldn't even say new anymore, right? The latest Thor
Mm-hmm.
movie, and um, in the theater. But today, my wife came and told me that it's going to be on Disney Plus in like a few days. So,
Yep.
what did we have to wait? A month and a half?
Right.
Yeah, I'll take waiting a month and a half. Month and a
Yep.
half, I don't have to spend any money to see it because I already have Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Um, the quality, I mean, if I had a better home theater system than I do, it would certainly be more movie theater like. So, yeah, I mean, it's getting harder and harder to for them to justify their existence, and then people like even before there were some people who, I mean, obviously now public opinion seems to have shifted, and that a lot of people are not as concerned as they were about getting COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Like personally, I'm not too eager to go to the movie theater and take any kind of risk just to see a movie. But there's a lot of people who probably, uh, based on my seeing how many people are wearing masks in public, probably not that many people. Probably a lot of people not deterred
Yeah.
by the risk of being around other people as much as they're deterred by the lack of motivation. Like, okay, so it's movies cost more and more. It's like $15 to see a movie
Yeah.
um, for a single ticket around here. So you're gonna pay for your movie tickets. A family of four, that's like $60 before you buy any food. Like that's that's no joke. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for what? And if you're going out if you're parents and you're going out without the kids and you need a babysitter, like
Right.
think
Right.
about now. Listen, it was an experience, right? To go out and actually leave the house, and that was
Sure.
something to do when you went out. But and so that's sad in a way. I'd like the movie theaters to still be there uh, when I'm ready to go back to one. But and there are certain things where it sort of feels like this would be a cool thing to do to go see in the movie theater. Like just last night, here's a little pitch for folks who have Paramount Plus. Uh, I watched the new 4K cut of Star Trek One, which is not a great movie, but the new 4K director's cut, it looks good, like looks really good, right? And I was watching it on my 50-inch TV,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I was thinking like this actually, like if I was at a movie theater with a really nice screen, this would be a nice experience.
Yeah.
And that's going off of that's a limited time thing too. It's going to be off Paramount Plus on the 31st.
Oh,
So
really?
you have 10 days to watch it, to watch Star Trek the Motion Picture. They have like a non-director's cut version that's on there always, but this is like the new 4K remaster whatever
Got it.
version. So anyway, yeah, some things would look really nice on a bigger screen, but it's really hard to justify. Um, it's really hard to justify, and most things don't really benefit from you going to the movie theater, and it's not
Right.
worth the cost. So,
Exactly.
I mean,
And we've
now there's a
talked
lot they could do to improve.
we've talked about what the future of theaters might look like. We've talked about, the Cineplex might end up being a thing of the past. We might go back to the movie palace kind of concept of a couple of screens instead of 28 or 40 in some places. And you're right. There are things in the experience that they could improve. They
I
started to
mean,
do
they,
some of that before things got weird, right? With the chair improvements and more interesting experiences like Look Theaters or Studio Movie Grill, things like that. And we're starting to see more and more of that. But yeah, what enhancements are in your head?
well, I think making it cheaper would be one.
Sure.
Like, I mean,
Interesting.
that seems counterintuitive.
This
Yeah.
was this was one of the companies that when all of the Movie Pass stuff was happening, they implemented their own version of it within the Cinemark brands, like Regal here in the United States for unlimited movies for whatever it was a month. I don't know if it still exists. It may or may not.
I mean, that's something. I mean, I think considering how many ads you have to see before a movie comes on,
Uh
like
huh.
maybe they should do something, have some type of like we see other streaming going to ad models. Why
Hmm.
can't the theater go to an ad model? I mean, is that just too out of whack to say like we're going to show you
Fascinating idea.
commercials during your movie and and you either get it much cheaper or free? Like
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just thinking like $15 to see a movie is a lot of money, and like
Yeah.
frankly, considering how much they make from concessions, they probably could get people in the door, like saying
True.
we're going to show you a movie free with ads, and then good make some good money on selling popcorn.
True.
Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they've done the math and this doesn't work, but at the same time, people are going to the movie theater, so maybe they should try something else.
Right.
Uh,
My suspicion is that we're going to see some creativity in the theater experience. My suspicion is that Cinemark, Regal, uh, Yes Planet are not, what a weird name, are not likely to vanish entirely. Now, Cinemark might divest itself of a couple of the brands, maybe some of the smaller ones. But my guess is that they're looking to restructure their debt, of which there is 4.8 billion US dollars. Um, and that's where the bankruptcy is coming in. My guess is that it's going to be a restructuring. Um, and out of it will come some theatrical creativity. AMC, as we talked about when all of the weird meme stuff was happening on Reddit, uh, AMC ended up turning that in their advantage, right? There was a bunch of short selling. People bought the stock to make it go up to screw the short sellers, and then AMC saw it and they sold some of their own stock back into the market when they were about 3 weeks away from running out of cash for operations, and they've been riding that high ever since. So they played a game and they won. But like Cinemark, I suspect we're going to see some theatrical creativity come out of this.
well, I hope they don't shut down because there's a Regal that opened in my town
Uh huh.
uh, like a year or two before the pandemic.
Oh,
Sadly, they built a brand new fancy Regal Multiplex. It's like walking distance from my house, and I've used it like one or two times, and I'd really like it to stay in business.
Sure. Sure.
So I mean, because it would be cool to be able to go there. Now, I have to admit, have I been going there? Not since the pandemic, but a few weeks before, I took my son to see Sonic there, and we had
Sure.
the first Sonic One, and we had a great time. Guess what happened with Sonic Two though? Like 2 months after it came out in the theater, we were able to see it
Yep.
to see it on streaming. So I'm not sure what the answer is. Maybe it's more events and birthday parties. I know a lot of kids who have birthday parties
Mm-hmm.
at the movie theater, who rent a theater for birth, and that's a great use of it.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
but obviously, there's only so much of that they could do.
Yeah.
Uh, the other thing that the other thing I think is really cool, but no multiplex is really set up to do. To your point about Movie Palace, is just doing revivals and showing old movies
Yep.
in a way that like you wouldn't normally. So like there's the movie theater I used to go to as a kid was built, or one of the ones I used to go as a kid was built in 1926,
Oh
and
wow.
it's one of the few theaters from that era that still exists. Like somebody bought it and they they refurbished it to a point. They refurbished it to a
Right. Right.
point, and it shows movies.
A
But
proper, like
and I took
proper maintenance kind of refurbishment, not we're gonna
they
tear it
didn't
out and
change
make it
they didn't
modern.
change the chairs. Yeah,
Oh god.
yes. But what I mean is, I they didn't change the chairs. So
Okay.
like they did like the ceiling, which is like beautiful. This beautiful, gorgeous ceiling is still in okay shape. But they didn't really improve the screen. They didn't
Okay.
improve the seats. So I wish they had sort of put some modern amenities. They didn't clean the bathroom. It looks like it hasn't been cleaned since 1926. But but the but I took Isaac to see my son to see a movie there like a few years ago, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, isn't this cool? You're going to see a movie in the same theater I saw it in, uh, whatever." And the thing is, though, what's really cool when they do it there is that sometimes on Saturdays they will have play silent movies, and they'll have an organist come, and then they have a real organ, and they'll like do the organ,
Oh.
right? So like that to
For
me
those
is like a great
for
use
those who
of
don't
movie theater.
know, because we do have a big percentage of our audience that's very young, you may not know that we talk about silent films, and when you see them most of the time, there's a soundtrack on them. That soundtrack was played live in theaters in those days, on a piano or an organ or something in the theater, which is an experience that's totally dead. I mean, unless you go see Rocky Horror, there's nothing that's happening in the theater while
Right.
while the thing is happening.
Right. So like that's a great use of the movie theater. Rocky
Yeah,
Horror is a great use of the movie theater. I don't know how
true.
many are still doing it,
I know
but
we've got one.
I
I think
miss
there's
it.
one on St. Pete Beach in our area that still does it
I
every weekend.
I I myself would love to go see Rocky Horror in the theater again. It's been a while, but I've been many times, several times, and would love to go again. So like yeah, you could find uses to sort of combine sort of live
Yeah.
performance with the theater. There's ways of making it more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And putting the space to use during slow times. We've got. I keep mentioning Look Theaters. I know most people are probably not familiar with them. They're like a studio movie grill, but I think they're a smaller company. And we've got one here in our area, and they're not afraid to try stuff. In fact, we've had conversations about possibly holding parts of gaming tournaments in their theaters because they're legitimately not afraid to just try stuff, which I think is a cool thing, right? And I think we're going to see more of that trying interesting and weird stuff in movie theaters over probably the next year. This stuff getting started, likely in Regals, and then once AMC runs out of their bonus cash, maybe we'll see AMC start doing some stuff as well. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.